Y'all good in there too?
I sure didn't know they sold that.
Y'all gotta go and fight with her one more time, man. For real, man.
Yeah, no.
My nigga. Hey, Auntie Gladys. And see her fighting one more time, man. Get on everybody's nerves one more time. Bro. Man, nigga, you heard? You got the news? Shit crazy, man. Shit crazy. She waited to see it, nigga.
Three or do.
When I think about you, I just get the chills. Hoping it's a dream, but I know that it's real. Gotta let the song cry, let the world know how I feel. Long live Mama Mills, long live Mama Mills, long live Mama Mills.
Long live Mama Mills. Long live Mama Mills. Long live Mama Mills. Long live Mama Mills.
Pen bleeding, tears falling down my eyes non-stop. I'ma do what you would do, stay on the grind and don't stop. Just need a minute to myself, my phone ringing non-stop. Can't believe you gone, you waited till I made it to the top. Man, everything happens for a reason. Wish I could see you play for one more season. What's your ingredients to your dressing? What's your season? Too late to ask, cause you no longer breathing. I'm sipping and I'm grieving, never visit you leaving. Swear this shit hurt like when LeBron left Cleveland. Wake me up, I'm dreaming, blood boiling, steaming. Eyes red like a demon, for your presence I'm fiending. Where you at, mama? Where, mama?
Long live Mama Mills. Long live Mama Mills. Long live Mama Mills. Long live Mama Mills.
Long live Mama Mills, no more stressing, no more pills, no more hurt, no more bills, no more shakes, no more chills, no more crying, no more tears. Watched you suffer through the years. Now it's time to get these meals. Long live Mama Mills. Still can't believe you gone. Drink and play your favorite song. Sometimes I just sit and stare. I promise I'll be in the zone. Looking at these pictures and these videos up in my phone. Laughing at the funny times when you were staying in my home. Can't no women in this world alive take my mama place. Reppin' everywhere I go. Shirts with my mama face. Moving at my mama pace. Staying on my paper chase. Long live Mama Mills. See you at them pearly gates.
Long live Mama Mills. Long live Mama Mills. Long live Mama Mills. Long live Mama Mills. Can't
Good evening, good evening, good evening. I'm back at it again. It's episode, I don't even know, maybe 10, maybe 9. I don't know what episode it is, but I'm back at it again, the Black Podcast Show, just like I'm here every Monday. That music you just heard in the introduction was my boy C Mills, all the way from my hometown, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And that song was Long Live Mama Mills. So rest in peace, rest in heaven, rest in love. All that to Mama Mills, C Mills' mom. She just recently passed away. So I just wanted to show him some support because that dude right there been grinding. I'm talking about been rapping since at least 2012. That's when I first heard of him. And he been grinding hard since then. That's a guy I can honestly say, man, if he don't make it, it's proof that you got to be in the Illuminati to make it in the rap game, because that's a grinding ass nigga right there. So I just had to show him some love, show his mom some love. Rest in peace, Mama Mills. Long live Mama Mills, all that. And with all that being said, I'm going to jump right into the Black Podcast Show. If this is your first time joining me, please stay around, stick around. Make sure you like, share, comment, all that, because I'm interested in hearing your opinion as I give you mine. Now, on the Black Podcast Show, you actually get 4 podcasts in one. Now, what other podcast, period, much less a black podcast, giving it to you like that? They're not out there. It's not going to happen. You can look for it all night, but you're just going to be missing out on sleep. The Black Podcast Show is the best podcast out right now, and it's actually the only black podcast online hosted by me, your girl Auchante. All right, so with this being National Women's Month, and with today specifically being International Women's Day, I wanted to make sure I came correct with the motivation today. Now, a lot of y'all didn't even know it was Women's Month, or especially National Women's Day, but it is. So I just started thinking about all the famous women that I could talk about that particularly empower other women. I mean, I could talk about a Beyonce, I could talk about a Queen Latifah. I could talk about Michelle Obama. I could talk about Kamala Harris, our first black vice president, our first black woman vice president. I know she mixed. I know she Indian, black. Who else? Who knows what all she mixed with? But just the fact that a woman of color is in the office and has a say-so and could potentially be the president if Joe Biden just happened to die. I'm not saying I wish death on the man, but that's an old man. So that could potentially be our future president. I could talk about Maxine Harris. Oh, shoot. Maxine Waters. I'm so sorry. Maxine Waters. I'm so sorry. Y'all know I know her name. I know Auntie Maxine. There's so many women I could talk about. I just say that to say this. I could talk about women I know personally. My mom, my grandmother, women in the church that I've met. There's so many women that I know that are powerful and also seek to empower. But I just wanted to, I came across this quote and I just thought that this was so powerful. I thought it was important for the motivation today. And I think that a lot of ladies can relate to this, especially in this day and age when not only is equality big, but it's actually happening. I see so many women trying to start their own businesses. And you know what? Let me not even say trying to start. I see so many women that have started their own businesses. I meet so many female entrepreneurs on a daily basis. Whether y'all notice or not, I actually sell cars. And I tell you what, at least once a week, I get a woman customer who says, I don't have any check stubs. I would have to submit my bank statements because I'm a business owner. And I mean, if that's not encouraging, I don't know what is. That encourages me so much to see so many women out here getting to the bag. You know what I mean? And no, these are not ragamuffins. These not single women, or these not toxic women or hood boogers or whatever you think that a woman in power is. Whatever you think an independent woman is, a lot of these women are married. So believe it or not, a woman can be married, she can be powerful, she can be financially empowered, and still have a spouse, whether it's a husband or a wife or whoever. So the quote that I have is this. And make sure y'all dwell on this throughout the week. And this one is really important. Anybody can relate to this, but like I said, this is for my ladies today. Not everyone will appreciate that you're evolved because they still have a particular version of you stuck in their head. That's their problem, though, not yours. Evolve as you please. And I'm going to read that again just in case some of y'all in the back didn't catch it, or in case one of y'all kids was running around and made you miss it. Just listen real close, real close. Not everyone will appreciate that you've evolved because they still have a particular version of you stuck in their head. That's their problem, though, not yours. Evolve as you please. And the reason I thought that quote was powerful for Women's Month or Day is because I know a lot of women find themselves kind of hiding their power or kind of shrinking back, or a lot of women don't necessarily know how to grab the bull by the horns. And then when they try to, they find themselves being pushed back because it's, oh, well, girl, you used to just do this. Oh, girl, you ain't nobody. You such and such. Oh, girl, you used to X, Y, and Z. So the fuck what I used to do? That's the motivation. So the fuck what I used to do? What are you talking about? You know what I mean? I see people all the time writing on Facebook, oh, you used to bully me in high school. Now you want me to support your business. Girl, fuck you. What? I graduated high school over 10 years ago. About 11 years at this point. I'm not worried about nothing that happened in high school. I mean, thank God I wasn't like bullied or anything like that, but some people still have that same you from when you were 16 years old stuck in their head. Imagine that. Imagine somebody thinking that you are that same person. Imagine somebody thinking your grown ass, your 30-year-old ass, is the same person you was when you was 15. Imagine somebody thinking that. But I know a lot of people and I know a lot of women go through that. You know, even if I was to say, you know, look at a woman like, I guess that's not a good example. But I'll say this, just to give an example of a woman that's in pop culture. You know what? I'm not gonna give an example of nobody in pop culture because them hoes, they be tripping. Let me take my AirPods out. But you know, a woman can, let's say a woman was promiscuous in her younger days. Let's say in high school she was sleeping around. Let's say in college she was sleeping around. By the time she get 30, she's a successful businesswoman. By the time she get 30, she's a CEO of a major corporation. Those people from her hometown still looking at her as, oh, that's promiscuous Patty. Oh, that's old bust down Betty. You know what I'm saying? That's old thought ass Teresa. She not a thought no more. Maybe she not a bust down no more. You know, whatever you are, be you, because people are going to always have a problem with it regardless. Whether you're doing right, wrong, or nothing, somebody going to have something to say about it. But I just, that quote where it said, not everyone will appreciate that you've evolved because they still have a particular version of you stuck in their head. I relate to that so much. It's been times where I could be trying to be motivational and I tell somebody something and then their response is something childish. And it's because they still look at me as that childish person that I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, however long it was. And maybe they haven't grown from that place. But that's not for me to worry about. I used to get so mad when I would try to say something, you know, in regard to business or something in regard to being positive or something in regard to advancing, you know, on my Facebook post or on Twitter or wherever. And then I would have a friend comment like, oh, you know, this, that, and the other. Or, oh, this, that, and the, like just a joke. They might comment something like, if I say, hey, what motivates you guys? Somebody might comment and say, oh, pussy or dick or whatever. And it's just like, okay, it's funny sometimes, but then sometimes it's not. But people aren't able to see you past what you were. So the jokes that we made 10, 15 years ago, people are still making those jokes. And that's okay, but it's a time and a place for everything. And it's okay for you to tell people, hey, I don't do that no more. Or hey, not right now. Or hey, can you not say that at this moment? You know? Because you never know who's watching. You could be trying to put a positive message out into the world, and because you have people in your life that don't quite understand that, and they want to play around, the message could get lost. Or the person that's supposed to receive it might not be able to quite receive it. Or the person that was looking at your page thinking that you're maybe a business person, or thinking that you are this person that you're trying to become, is now turned off. So just remember, you don't have to stay nowhere. You don't have to be stagnant in your life, and you don't have to be stagnant even to keep your friends. If you get to a point where you realize that a friendship is not serving you, it's okay to let go of that friendship. It's okay to release that friendship. It's okay to release that person from being your friend. Now, just remember, it's not always a good thing to burn bridges that you might need to cross again. But at the same time, if a person can't understand, hey, I don't do that no more, or hey, I'm serious right now, then fuck them. Maybe they don't need to be in your life. Maybe it's time for you to stand on your own 2 feet and walk. And yes, if you're listening to this and you wonder, am I talking to you? I'm talking directly to you. Maybe it's time for you, ma'am, to stop saying, oh, when my kids get old enough, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Your kids is old enough right now, because anything that you want to do, you can start taking baby steps to accomplish it. You know what I mean? I think that a lot of women just find themselves taking care of everybody else to where they don't give themselves enough. So that's why I want to talk about this on today, is because, once again, it is National Women's Month, International Women's Day. Yes, as a woman, you do have we do have a innate caretaking ability or desire, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, you have to take care of yourself. You have to make sure that you're growing. You know, it's not 1930 anymore. A woman don't have to stay at home with the kids and that be her only conversation for the day. I remember I had a lady tell me that before. This was before I was working at the car lot. Where I don't remember where I was working, but the lady said, you know, you're the first adult I've talked to in days. Because she's a stay-at-home mom, and yes, she's married, but by the time her husband gets off work, he's dog tired. So all he want to do is tell her about his day right quick and go to bed. Go lay down. And all she really even have to talk about is, oh, well, you know, babe, Jonathan spit up for the first time today, you know, or he said, rah. You know, she don't have anything of substance or anything necessarily interesting to talk about, because she doesn't get to engage in a lot of adult conversation. But that has to stop. That has to stop. You have to take care of yourself. You have to allow yourself to grow. You have to allow yourself to be at your best. Because if you're not at your best for yourself, why do you think you can be at your best for anybody else, even your kids? If you're not happy with yourself, why do you think that you're a great wife or mother? And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, you ain't shit. What I'm saying is you have to cater to your needs as well. That don't mean that you put yourself above everybody every single day, because that's just not realistic and it's not fair. But it does mean that you say, you know what? No, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. No, I'm not about to break my back and go out of my way to make you happy today. I don't want to. I need to make me happy today. No, I'm not cooking 6 different meals for 6 different kids because y'all don't want to eat X, Y, and Z. No, y'all going to eat it today, or you're going to go to bed hungry. No, I'm not doing this for my spouse because I don't want to today. And it's not to say that you allow your home or your relationship to go to shit. It's not to say that you neglect anybody or anything, but it's to say that you don't neglect yourself. So once again, I just wanted to emphasize Not everyone will appreciate that you've evolved because they still have a particular version of you stuck in their head. And I think I said this a few weeks ago. Sometimes people still remember all the stupid shit you used to do. It's a girl from my high school that she used to always fall all the time. She was just clumsy. And I remember a particular time where I don't even know what she slipped on, but she stepped on something and she literally slid down the whole hallway. And it was so funny because she didn't do it on purpose. It was like a cartoon. And after that, that's kind of what she was known for. Just, being clumsy and goofy or whatever. But she's not that same person anymore. Even though when I see her and think of her, I still think of that instance because it was so funny. That girl has gone on to bigger and better things. She's married. She's always. I don't really know what she does business wise, but I know that she always has some insightful and interesting things to talk about on Facebook. And I know that she's not that person from high school no more. I know that the girls that used to fight every morning at 7:00, they've all grown past that as well. I'm not that same person I was in high school. You're not that same person you were in high school. It's okay to change. It's okay to grow up. We don't have to be childish as fuck our whole lives. And you don't have to accept nobody telling you what you are or are not. So that's all I wanted to say is that if you're having an issue with somebody that hasn't accepted the fact that you evolved, that you're a grown up person or a more grown person than you were at the time of y'all's interactions, you can just cut that person off. You can just clip them out of your life because if you've grown and they haven't, maybe you've outgrown them altogether. It's something to think about. Continue evolving, continue changing, continue bettering yourself. It's that simple. And it's not easier said than done. It's easier done than said. Because the more you say something and don't do it, the harder it gets. And the more harder it is for you to look at yourself in the mirror and be happy. So, like I said, continue evolving. If you haven't started, start evolving and don't stop. Don't worry about leaving nobody behind. Because either they gonna come up with you, either you gonna pull them up, or they gonna drag you down. And ain't no fucking body dragging me down. That's facts. All right. So the next thing I'm going to jump into, and I've been waiting to talk about this all day, really all week. I'm going to jump right into this true crime. So I'm going to let y'all catch up on, I'm going to let my producer pull up the pictures and everything. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to see it because I can't even wait. But this case I'm going to talk about today is a example of, man, why I don't trust nobody. You know what I'm saying? You can't trust a soul. This dude here who I'm about to talk about the betrayal of a best friend and the betrayal of a wife. The two most important people in a person's life. Your spouse and your best friend. I mean, your parents, your kids too. But I mean, as far as confidants, for the most part, your spouse and your best friend, they know everything about you. Everything, even the stuff your parents don't know. Your spouse and your best friend. Your best friend more than anybody. Your best friend is supposed to be that person that know everything and don't tell nothing. Unfortunately, the gentleman I'm talking about today, who is Jerry Michael Williams, and he actually went by his middle name for the most part. These are all pictures of this gentleman. I got pictures of him from a childhood to him as an adult with his child, just to show that, this stuff is real. These are real people I be talking about, y'all. These is not cases off of a movie or nothing like that. These are real people that lived life from childhood up until an untimely death. So Jerry Michael Williams, born in 1969, October 16th, and was just a regular guy. He grew up in less than wealthy circumstances. His dad was actually a single father, but he worked hard to put... No, he actually wasn't. I'm tripping. No, it was his dad and his mom. They were together, but they didn't have much. I will say that. His parents worked hard to make sure that he and his older brother, Nick, could make it through high school and college. And they worked as well. One thing that everybody says about Mike, and I'm going to call him Mike because that was his Michael Williams, but he went by Mike. One thing everybody said about this guy was that he was hard working. So even when he was in high school, him and his brother worked the job so they could help out with the bills and stuff, and so that they could help save money so that they could go through college. And he did that. Mike actually completed college, married his high school sweetheart, and got a really good paying job. And he was a real estate appraiser. So basically, he was the person that determined what your house is worth, how much a house is worth. So, like I said, Mike married his high school sweetheart, who was Denise, in the year of 1994. So Mike was about 25, but they had been dating since freshman year of high school. So that's a long time. Him and Denise had already dated about 10 years before they went ahead and got married. So Denise and Mike get married, and they pretty much have what everybody thought was a ideal marriage. Mike was, even though he was a hard worker, he was very committed to Denise and eventually their daughter, Annalise, I think was her name. And I mean, it was to the point where he would leave work sometimes on his lunch break and just go fill up Denise's car with gas. You know, he would leave work and go bring her something to eat because he really loved her. He would leave work and go pick up his daughter and bring her back to the office so he could spend more time with her. Mike was a family guy. He was genuinely a family man, and he was kind of the definition of, you know, the American dream. Maybe not even the American dream, but when you think of like all-American type of guy, that's what Mike was. You know, as you can see, he was a football player. Denise was actually a cheerleader. So, I mean, stereotype much? Yeah. And then they got married as high school sweethearts, and then they had one daughter. Like, so Mike is what you would consider all-American, you know, making good money out of college. And he even had the same best friend ever since high school, and that was Brian Winchester. And when I say Brian and Mike was tight, I mean thick as thieves. You know, they actually got married around the same time. They bought their houses around the same time, right down the street from each other. They did everything together. And it was to the point where Denise, who was Mike's wife, and Brian's wife, I forget her name, they were best friends. So, you know, Brian, Mike, Denise, and this other lady, let me try to find her name real quick. They were the best of friends, though. And another thing about, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find a name, guys. Brian Winchester, first wife, Kathy. Okay. So Brian and Kathy were married, and Mike and Denise were married. And the thing about Mike, one thing he loved was hunting and fishing. He loved duck hunting, and he loved going out on the sea fishing. And that was pretty much his hobby. So in between work, being married, taking care of his daughter, if he wasn't doing one of those three things, he was out hunting. And that's why I say Mike is just honestly the type of guy you probably would want to be with. You know, just a good guy. And all his colleagues said that he was the first one at work every single day, and he would be there well after everybody else left. So Mike didn't actually make a salary. He was actually paid commission for the houses he appraised, and I totally relate to that. I'm on a commission based pay as well, and I know I gotta grind to go get it. So I definitely understand Mike. And at the time of Mike's untimely disappearance in December of 2000, he was actually making almost $200,000. So Mike did well. He was making about $180,000 a year commission. So like I said, Mike was grinding, he was hustling, but he was still taking care of home at the same time. So you got to respect that. Now, what Mike did not know was that his wife and his best friend were having an affair behind his back. And that affair started fairly quickly into Mike and Denise's marriage. Brian and Denise had a 3-year affair before Mike's disappearance in 2000. So they started messing around 97. Like I said, Mike and Denise got married in 94. So 3 years in, she's already sleeping with his best friend. Now, I will say this. Denise and Brian were friends as well. Denise and Brian had actually known each other probably longer than Mike and Brian. They actually grew up together since elementary school. So I will give them that. They probably just had a very strong bond, or I don't know. But let me get into it. So around December of 2000, Brian and Denise decide that they want to be together. You know, of course, it was slightly before December, but they decide, you know what, all this sneaking around, all this, we don't want to do that no more. So Mike actually had already had a life insurance policy on himself for $250,000. And originally the beneficiary for that was his mom. But of course, once he and Denise got married, he changed the beneficiary to her. And Brian actually sold insurance. So at a point or another, Mike was convinced to purchase an additional insurance policy. And the new insurance policy was actually for $500,000. And Mike's boss had actually told him, hey, you know, at your age and you live kind of a reckless lifestyle, I guess he meant with the fishing and the duck hunting and everything, he said get as much life insurance as you can. So with that being said, Mike didn't really think anything of getting a lot of life insurance. And I mean, life insurance is important. Believe it or not, you need to have life insurance. So anyway, he gets the life insurance policy from Brian, and Brian and Denise decide that for them to be together, Mike and Kathy need to die. So, like I said, Mike had all this life insurance. Denise knew that. Brian was the one who sold it to him. And eventually, they decide that they're going to all go on a trip, on a fishing trip. And Brian and Denise are going to kill Mike and Kathy. They're going to push them off the boat, act like they drowned, and I guess everything will be willy-nilly from there. Problem is, Brian couldn't actually bring himself to kill his wife. So they kind of nixed that plan. Excuse me. So anyway, one day Brian and Mike make plans to go fishing early in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, very early. So what happens is Brian meets Mike out there, and he actually gets him to a point where he pushes him off the boat. Whatever the case was, they met out there. They get out on the water. Brian gets Mike to kind of stand somewhere convenient, and he pushes him off the boat. And what he was supposed to do was actually make it to where Mike would just drown. It was supposed to be kind of an easy thing, because there is a way. There's some kind of quicksand out there where they live in Florida. And apparently Brian and Mike had been to this area before, and Mike did actually almost drown in the quicksand. But the thing was, Brian helped him that day. So once Brian saw that, he was pretty much like, okay, there we go. I'm going to do it like that. So they go back out there on this particular day, the day of death. And he actually does push him in the water, in the quicksand. But somehow Mike gets out. Somehow Mike is able to pull himself, or he's able to fight. He has all this heavy fishing gear on, but Mike is able to pull that stuff off, and he's kind of just confused and trying to get back to the boat. And Brian ends up having to shoot Mike. So Brian shot and killed his best friend right there in cold blood at like 5 o'clock in the morning, because he kind of panicked. So ipso facto, Brian ends up killing Mike. And he actually never told Denise what happened. So for years, Denise never knew that Brian actually had to shoot his best friend. And I think that really weighed heavily on Brian, because he loses it. He lost it. Not shortly after this, but in the long run, Brian actually lost it. And that's Brian that you're looking at on the right there. In that prison outfit. And I mean, he just looks old. He looks old. He looks bad. He looks stressed out. And that's Denise to the left. And that's actually Mike and Denise in the middle there. So look at the difference. I mean, it's a 15-year difference, I'm sure. It's like almost a 20-year difference. But, you know, they just look like spoiled milk. That's what white people look like when they get stressed out. They look like, it makes you think about spoiled milk. Like all that crud and stuff you see when milk starts spoiling, that's what they look like. Like they drink that, you know? But it was years before Brian was arrested for the murder of Mike. And I mean years. They probably would have never even found him if it wasn't for the love of a mother. So peep this. The next day after Mike goes missing, so Mike was supposed to go out that morning, like I said, 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, go fishing, go duck hunting. He was supposed to be back by noon. And Mike was always running late, so when he wasn't there at 12 o'clock, Denise wasn't really just tripping yet, but by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, she's calling everybody, trying to see if anybody has seen Mike. But the one person she doesn't call is Brian, who was Mike's best friend, which kind of stuck out to people, but they didn't really think too much of it, which was a mistake. So they go looking for Mike, and I mean within hours, there's a search party, and this is, I think, still to this day, the biggest search party, and they looked for this guy for like 40-some days, and it was like over 700 hours of manpower, and they didn't never find him. But the thing that started sticking out to Mike's mom was the very next day after the disappearance. So if Mike went disappearing on Saturday, Sunday, Denise had a memorial service. And that's strange. There's nobody. There's no sign of Mike. Why would you have a memorial? Like, why would you assume within 24, let's say 48 hours max, which has not been 48 hours, 36 hours max, why would you be willing to have a memorial service? Memorial is in memory, is in remembrance. So Denise did that. And that's the first thing that kind of had Mike's mom kind of like, okay, she's not right. She got something to do with it. So eventually everybody in Florida, in the town, basically decided that, okay, maybe he fell in the water and the alligators ate him. Because in this particular body of water that they were fishing in, there had already been 79 deaths that year alone. But they had found all 79 bodies. So they were kind of waiting for Mike's bodies or at least his remains to kind of float to the surface. But they all decided the alligators must have ate him. They must have ate him partially and then drugged the rest of his remains to a place that we can't get to. But Mike's mom knew one thing that Mike had always told her. Alligators do not eat when it's cold. Alligators don't feed in low temperatures. So apparently when it gets really cold outside, alligators go into sort of a zombie-like mode. And they don't eat, or they eat very, very, very little. So they might be kind of lurking around, they might be kind of swimming around, but they won't feed. They don't eat under certain circumstances. And the weather would have been about 19 degrees. So it would have been too cold for the alligators to eat. Now, Mike's mom mentioned this several times to the police, to law enforcement, and they kind of blew her off. You know, they were looking at her like, okay, this is just a grieving mother that can't accept the fact that her son has died. And this is actually, if you're watching, this is a picture of Mike's mom right here. And I don't even know what year this is, but let me just tell y'all, this lady went to bat for her son. 10 years passed, 15 years passed, and she did not give a fuck. She kept going out there. That sign, that picture is a lot more recent than you think. Mike went missing in 2000. I guarantee you this picture is after 2015. I guarantee you that. She never stopped looking for her son. This lady actually wrote a letter to the mayor where they live every single day for years. It was thousands of letters. By the time he actually got around to looking at them, this man had thousands of letters from this woman. She wrote him a letter every single day for years. So when it comes to a mother's love, it's nothing more powerful. Absolutely nothing. So let me just tell y'all, 5 years after Mike's disappearance in 2000, Denise and Brian, and I'm talking about Denise, Mike's widow, and Brian, Mike's best friend, get married. Surprise, so fucking prize. Yes, these two scumbags got married. So, and I mean, my thing is this: why y'all couldn't just be together? Why would y'all get married and have everybody suspicious all over again? But what I will say also is that what also struck Mike's mom and others as strange was 6 months after Mike's disappearance, still no body found. Denise actually was able to get Mike pronounced dead. Now, typically, it takes 5 years in the state of Florida to determine a missing person as dead and to collect any type of insurance policy. But they actually found Mike's clothes and his wallet with his fishing license in it. And it might have been his hunting license, whatever it was some kind of license. Now, the issue with that was it's 6 months later when they find this stuff. His clothes are still completely intact, and his license was still completely intact. So how can something be in the swamp, in the river, in the water, in any kind of water? It could be tap water. How can something sit in water for 6 months and come out with no deterioration? There was no bite marks. So if you're saying that the alligators ate him, where's the teeth marks? His clothes look as though he took them off and just, let them fall into the lake. But that was what they used to determine that he had to have been dead. And once again, law enforcement determined that the alligators must have eaten him, which is just bullshit. 5 years later, Mike and Denise get married. 7 years after that, they get divorced. They had a very unhappy marriage. Immediately, there was infidelity. They both cheated on each other. They didn't trust each other. There was a lack of sex. And it's just like, okay, y'all did all that for what? To be together, and now y'all don't even want to be together. And get this, Denise had this thing where she didn't want to get divorced. She didn't want to divorce Mike. She just didn't want to be with him anymore. And I don't know if that was because of the way she was raised, but it couldn't be because she filed for a divorce from Brian. So Denise actually ends up having to divorce Brian. She said that there was physical abuse, like I said, infidelity, cheating, verbal abuse. So they weren't happy together at all, and that's what the fuck they get. I'm glad they didn't have one happy. I hope they didn't have one happy moment. I'm glad they were unhappy. So 2012, Denise divorces Brian. 2016, he comes up and is hiding in the back seat of her car one day. She drive off. This nigga jumps out the back seat into the front seat and put a gun to her back. And it's telling her to drive all these places, and it's telling her he's getting ready to lose his mom. I think it was either his mom or his dad had cancer or something, and was terminally ill. He lost his other wife. His son didn't want shit to do with him. He lost Denise. He lost his best friend. So he just basically on the sob story, wants some sympathy, and he basically kidnaps Denise. But luckily for her, she was able to convince him that he didn't need to do that, and blah 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 blah. So he's like, okay, take me back home, let me out. So she convinced him, she took him back home, and this nigga he says, hold on, and he actually grabs a plastic tarp out of her back seat, amongst some other things, but a plastic tarp. He was about to fucking kill her. And according to him, he was just going to kill himself. He was, going through some suicidal ideologies. But yeah, so Denise actually goes to the police about this. And Brian actually gets arrested in 2016 for this, and is facing like 20 years for this shit because it's like kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, threatening, like it's a whole bunch of shit. And it's mainly because he had the gun that he's looking at 20 years for this. And so the police take this opportunity because at this point they already know they already know that Denise and Brian did something to Mike. They know that this has something to do with Mike. And the reason they know this is because of Mike's mom. Mike's mom has not only been taking notes the whole time, she's been opening her own private investigations the whole time. She has been on it. Mike's mom knows that her son did not drown in that fucking river. That's her whole thing. She know her son didn't drown in that river. So with all that being said, Denise actually told Mike's mom if she didn't stop doing what she was doing, and by that I mean writing letters, doing these private investigations, that Denise told her she would never see her granddaughter again. And Mike's mom says this. I wish I could clip the audio, but Mike's mom said that she told Denise, if Annalise went missing, that's her granddaughter, Denise's daughter, Mike's daughter, wouldn't you do everything you could to find her? If Annalise went missing, would you accept somebody just telling you, oh, this is how she died? And this bitch Denise said this to his mother, said, that's different. How the fuck is it different, you sick ass psychopathic? Oh my gosh. I don't even want to get that vulgar because this is actually a family show. But kids, if you're listening, this is what a sick ass bitch looked like to the left. Tells his mom, oh, that's different. And tells her, listen, y'all, tells his mom, oh, I never want to hear Mike's name again. I never want to see his face again. I don't want anything to do with any type of further investigation. And if you continue, you'll never see your granddaughter again. Just the evilest person on earth. But luckily, Mike's mom, as bad as she wanted a relationship with her daughter, which would have been Mike's only living thing that she could have a relationship with, she couldn't. She couldn't let it go because she knew. So, like I said, the police get Brian in custody for trying to pull some captain, I don't know what he was trying to pull, some simp shit. And they tell him, look, we're going to give you full immunity, but you need to tell us what happened with Mike. Because we know you had something to do with it. Well, we'll give you full immunity. You know, we won't add nothing on to your charges, but you need to tell us what happened. So Mike at this point, like, fuck it. I'm in here for 20 years. It's time to pay for what we did. So Mike tells on Denise. And Denise was arrested on May 8th of 2018. And she was sentenced on February 6th, 2019. 30 years. 30 years. 30 goddamn years. I hate her. I just hate looking at her ugly face. Like, oh my gosh. How do you sit there and tell this man's mother, oh, that's different. If my child went missing, that's different. Of course I would do everything I could to find her. That's different. It's not different. You just a sick asshole. You sick, selfish, and full of shit. So that's pretty much what happened with Denise, Mike, Brian, Kathy. It was just bad, y'all. And that's why I say, who can you trust? This was Mike's best friend that did this. And when Brian talks about it, because he actually had to take the stand and talk about it, when he talks about what he did, he actually breaks down crying. And he said that the look on Mike's face is something that he thinks about every day. The look on Mike's face when Mike was not even mad, not even sad. He said Mike was just confused. Mike didn't even have time to process what happened. So, just be careful. Be careful. Because Mike was sitting there telling Brian everything. Telling Brian, I think my wife is cheating on me. I think this, I think that. And Brian was the one that she was cheating with. So, stories like this make it hard to trust people, make it very hard to trust people. My thing is this: if you don't want to be with me no more, please just let me go. Please don't kill me. Please, if you don't want to be with me no more, if you don't want to get divorced, we can separate. We can pretend whatever you're trying to do, we can do that. But don't kill me. Please don't. Okay, with that being said, rest in peace, Jerry Michael Williams. Like I said, a mother's love. Actually, I went on, there was a Facebook page dedicated to it. I went to the Facebook page real quick. I'm going to say this. And you can actually follow the journey all the way from 2014 when the page was first created, all the way through 2016 when Brian got arrested, all the way through 2019 when that bitch Denise got sentenced to 30 years. So that was moving to me. The fact that they had this Facebook page up for Mike, letting him know, from beyond or whatever the case is, we still looking for you. So only a mother's love is that powerful, And I'm not saying a father's love is not. I'm just, in this particular instance, a mother's love brought that man justice. Okay, so real quick, I got a couple other topics I want to cover right quick. Tay Talk. I'm going to review The Coldest Winter Ever sequel. So, a lot of y'all have read The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Soldier. Came out back in 99, maybe 2000. And I mean, huge book. Like, just massive as far as urban books go. That's one book where I can honestly say almost everyone I know has read it. Whether and I mean that as males and females. So what I'm going to be talking about is the sequel. The covers pretty much look the same. So if this cover looks familiar to you, you probably have seen the cover of The Coldest Winter Ever. And The Coldest Winter Ever is about a chick named Winter, teenage girl named Winter, who is the daughter of Santiago. Yeah, the daughter of Santiago, who's this huge drug dealer. He ends up getting busted. And Winter's whole life up until him getting busted has been lavish. Ghetto, but lavish. So her dad pretty much had all the finer things for her, but he wasn't really teaching her shit. So her parents would tell her shit like, oh, well, what you got to go to school for? All you need to know is math. And so she got to the point where she would only go to school when she had a new outfit or some new jewelry or something like that. And it's just kind of the story of a ghetto girl, ghetto royalty. That's what Winter was considered, ghetto royalty. And it's one of those books where when you read it as a kid, as a young woman, when I read that book as a girl, I felt like not necessarily that I wanted to be Winter because I never really saw myself the way Winter was, but in a little bit, you want to be Winter, just a little bit. But as an adult, you read that shit and are like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with this girl? Every single move she makes is clearly the wrong move. And it's very polarizing in that sense. But it's a lot of gems in that book. It's a lot of messages. It's a lot of information that's important for young black people to know. And I actually love Sister Soldier as an author, period. I've read, I believe I read all of her books. I've read all Sister Soldier's books. I'm still working on Life After Death, but I saw a lot of negative reviews. And I'm going to just say, spoiler alert, if you ain't read it yet, you might not want to listen to this. But I'm going to just say this. Winter is dead in the book. So for everybody that read The Coldest Winter Ever, at the end of the book, Winter went to jail. Winter went to prison for bullet. And she was on a 15-year bid. So she served her whole 15-year bid, gets out of jail, bop, gets shot. Simone bitch ass shot her. So if you remember the first book, Simone was a hating ass bitch from there. So Simone was actually one of her best friends. I'm not even gonna say Simone was a hating ass bitch. She kind of was, but Winter was just grimy and slimy and fucked everybody over. But they had actually got back cool in jail. But Simone was just pretending the whole time. So, shit, that's another thing. Who can you trust? But, so Winter is dead in the book, which I really didn't like. And then a lot of the book, when they're talking about, because the book kind of go back and forth between Winter being like a ghost and where she can kind of see what everybody else doing presently. And then it goes back to her being in jail and having conversations and planning what she was going to do when she got out. Winter is fucking delusional. She still got the same mindset that she did. My bad, y'all. She still got the same mindset that she did when she was 17, 18, got locked up. This girl think exactly the same. Like, come on now. You went to jail when you was at most 18. You did 15 years, so bitch, you 33 now. And you still got the same thought process. That part made me kind of mad. And like I said, I'm still working on the book. But I think the thought process is she's delusional to where she still thinks she's that bitch. And it's like, dude, you never was that bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, your pops was that nigga as far as dealing drugs and having bread. But you never was a hustler. That's what she says in the book multiple times. Oh, I always been a hustler. Bitch, you never was a hustler. When it came to you hustling, you couldn't make it. You had to go basically sell your body to try to get a nigga to take care of you. And then the nigga did take care of you, who was Bullet, and then he got you locked up. And she still think that she just was that thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy the way she thinks. But then at the same time, what I don't like about it is some of the messages that Sister Soldier tries to deliver through Winter. Sister Soldier as a person and Winter's character as a person are two very, very, very different people. And I think that with Sister Soldier being the author, and I'm sure it's hard to separate and still deliver the message that she wants to deliver. So that's kind of my only thing with the book is just I feel like Soldier is putting her message on Winter. So for instance, at one time, Winter was like, she was feeling the music because they was playing old shit. They was playing Biggie and, you know, all the old New York shit from the 90s, which that would have been Winter's time. And then she was like, yeah, the music today just don't have no feeling to it and da-da this and da-da that. And it don't hit the same and da-da this and da-da that. I don't believe that Winter's character would have that thought process. Winter's character, all the fuck she cared about was having fun. She didn't give a damn about the lyrics to the songs. She even stated that in the first book. She liked the have fun music, the music that's talking about getting money. Today's music would be perfect for Winter. Even with her being older, I don't see her having this strong opinion about the morality of hip hop. That didn't make sense to me. That was Soldier's opinion. So that's the only thing that I'm kind of stuck on in the book is Sister Soldier delivering her message through Winter. And like I said, her and Winter's character are so different that doesn't make sense. But, I mean, I'm still going to finish. I've been listening to it on Audible. So, I mean, if you don't have Audible, you ain't got $20 or $15 to spare right quick, just go ahead and create you an email address and make an account. And one last thing I want to talk about before I get up out of here is a movie on HBO. It's a documentary on HBO, Growing Up Milwaukee. And I just felt like this was very important to talk about, especially with me being from Milwaukee. This movie was so good. Very hard to watch because it was sad, but so good. So good. I don't even know the gentleman or the company. I don't know who put this together, but I couldn't believe it was on HBO. Like, when you come from a small city like Milwaukee, everybody have heard of it because of the Bucks or the Packers, but nobody really know. And the funniest thing is, whenever I go anywhere, and especially since I've been down here, everybody be like, oh, it's black people up there? Shit. It ain't nothing but niggas in Milwaukee. Not even black people. It's nothing but niggas in Milwaukee. You know what I'm saying? Like, nigger. It might be niggers up there with an ER. No, I'm just playing. But no, it's a lot of black people up there, and people don't even know. It's racist as fuck where I'm from. Like, down here, I feel like it might be more blatant racism. In Milwaukee, and Wisconsin in general, it's more covert racism. So that's the place where you go fill out a job application, you get a girl your application and say, oh, thank you, we'll be giving you a call, awesome. And then you turn around and walk out and they throw your shit away and laugh at your name. Because you might got a ghetto name. As if anybody can help what the fuck their name is. So, but in this documentary, it follows 3 youth who are really going through it and don't have the support of their parents for whatever reason. One of the youth was a gentleman who was just, you know, kind of a troublemaker, getting in trouble, hanging out with the wrong crowds, and he ended up being in like a detention center, like a boys' home, and he was just kind of going through his journey. The other one was a young lady. Her name is Tiana G. The reason I remember her name is because she's a rapper / singer. And when I say this girl can spit and blow, like, man, I wish I could follow her and know what's going on with her now. But she's 18 years old, had a baby when she was 14, and just trying to, you know, become a young woman and get her son back because he was in foster care and she was in foster care. So it's really a sad story of like broken generations. And I didn't even really get to find out what was up with her mom. And then the last young man, I think his name was Marquell. And what I remember about his story, he still lived with his mom, but he was just saying like they was constantly getting into it. And he felt like she didn't love him. And it broke my heart on one part because he was just talking about how they get into it. And somebody asked him, do you think she loves you? And he said, I know she used to. And I think a lot of kids go through that. I think a lot of parents don't even realize that, yeah, you love your kid when they're a little bitty baby because they're cute. You love your kid when they little bitty baby and they want to crawl up in your arms and you can hold them and cuddle them and snuggle them and tell them what to do and they do it. But you got to still love your kid that same way when they get older and start having their own opinions. You got to love your kid that same way when they not so cute and don't want to get up in your lap and snuggle and do whatever you say and follow you around all the time. Because you created, whatever your kid is, you created that. And you have to love them that same way so they feel that same support so they don't go out into the world looking for love somewhere else. I know most parents love their kids, but you have to make sure that your kid know that you constantly show them that. It's not enough to say, oh, well, you got a place to live, you got food, you got clothes. No, show me that you love me. Show me that you like me. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of parents tend to forget that. Or a lot of parents be like, oh, I miss when my baby was this little. Why? Because they did whatever you told them to? Because they didn't have no opinion? Because whatever you thought is what went? No. Love your baby when they get older because those opinions they got in their head, they came from you. Believe it or not. That talking back, that came from you. You know what I'm saying? Respect the fact that you raised a child that has a voice, that has a thought in their mind. You know what I'm saying? Growing up in Milwaukee, y'all gotta watch that. If you're not from Milwaukee, you definitely gotta watch it. Cause, man, that, like I said, it was sad. I felt like it was relatable. And I just felt like it really showed Milwaukee. You know, it wasn't just, it's good times in Milwaukee too, don't get me wrong. Like, I love being a teenager, growing up where I grew up. But it just really shows what people don't see. Like I said, it's not just white people in Milwaukee. It's not just cheese and farms and stuff. Like, it's real shit going on, you know. I think that's all I got for y'all today, actually. Yeah, I think that's all I got for y'all today. Check out that Growing Up Milwaukee. I'm still, like I said, working on the Coldest Winter Ever sequel, like Life After Death. It's okay so far. You know, I've seen a lot of bad reviews, and I understand why. And let me just leave y'all with the motivation one more time. Oh, yeah. Like, share, comment, all that. If you feeling today's episode, please let me know. Please let me know. Please let your people know to check me out. And once again, not everyone will appreciate that you've evolved because they still have a particular version of you stuck in their head. Not everyone will appreciate that you've evolved because they still have a particular version of you stuck in their head. But that's their problem, not yours. Evolve as you please. And that's it for the Black Podcast Show today. I'll be back at y'all again next Monday with some more true crime, some more motivation, some more tape talk. And we're going to do this thing again. I appreciate you for watching. Appreciate you for listening. And I definitely appreciate you for sharing. Y'all have a blessed one.